never-ending faithful. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
And you may be seated. Make sure we're on here. We good? You guys hear me okay? All right. So last I spoke with you all on, so we're now in the month of April of 2026. So it would have been near the end of February, early March, somewhere in there. On a Wednesday night I spoke, and I'd shared with you, I said, one of the things that I was really wanting to do was I was really trying to be intentional with getting back to something I used to really enjoy doing, which was reading, right? And so I kind of made a goal for myself. I was like, okay, this is how many books I want to read this year. But then I got a little bit, I was like, well, I don't know if I want to, split it up because, one of the books that I had on my list, it was 62 pages. And I felt like I was cheating a little bit. I was like, do I really count that one? But then there was another book that I had finished that was 722 pages. And I was like, well, I'm not counting that one twice. So, I guess we can kind of split the difference. And one of the things that I've really been trying to do is I believe that someone once said that leaders are readers. And the moment a leader stops reading, a leader stops leading. And and so I was like, I really want to challenge myself in that, but I also want to do some other stuff is, other kind of reading that, do some kind of some of it's fictional and just because I'm a huge storyteller. I love stories. And so I'm happy to announce to you that since I was last here on a Wednesday night speaking, I've gone through 7 books in its entirety, which is cool. It's exciting, a couple months there, you're just kind of going through. Yeah. You can applaud me if you want. That's great. But one of the things I really wanted to do, though, is I want to grow in my wisdom, right? And so I was like, I want to learn some things about life, some things about God, some things about myself, some things, all these different things and different reasons. And God looked at that and kind of laughed and was like, yeah, sure. There have been several things I've learned. For example, one of the books that I read, it's called Leaders Eat Last, and, a lot on servanthood and just, it's not about me, it's about, and so it's like, if we're taking that on, that's all well and good, but God showed me, he said, I'm going to show you some things through your life, okay? So can I share a couple of those things before we jump into the Word? Is that cool? All right, awesome. Also, is there some music playing? Okay, perfect, because I have ADD, and I felt like I was hearing it, but I didn't know if it was just my brain. So, good to know I'm not going crazy. I just paused. I was like, wait a minute, hold on. All right, I appreciate you, Kev. So one of the things that God really showed me and taught me was to enjoy life and enjoy the moments with your kids, because it can be over, it just seems like it just goes by so quick, right? And the way that the Lord taught me that was this past week. For those of you who don't know, our oldest daughter, Brianna, she has her learner's permit. And she has been driving, and we're doing really good in parking lots and neighborhoods. But this past week, I had the privilege to ride with her in the car. And she sat down in the car, and she immediately was like, whoo! And I was like, girl, you got to stop right now. If you're freaking out, she's like, I'm sorry, I'm freaking out. I'm like, if you're freaking out, you're not driving. We're not doing any of that, and as she's driving, I'm trying to do the cool, hey, don't I don't want to freak out, but and we're driving down, she's doing perfect at where she's supposed to be, and then there's a car coming this way, and suddenly she decides to go, hug this side of the road because she thinks that car somehow is going to get bigger and run us off the road, and, I'm like, hey, move over, and so the Lord taught me in that moment of hey, listen, enjoy every moment because you just never know, at another moment, another thing the Lord taught me is that the things in life that I thought mattered prior to having kids don't really mean as much as I thought they did, okay? And the way the Lord taught me this was, as a kid growing up, I had a really bad, my mom, actually, she was a children's pastor, and she would always, I say always, it felt like always, but she probably did it a couple times, and I felt targeted. But she would tell this story, and it was the story that she would tell, it was about Tim's temper. And the kid in the story just sounded a lot like a lot of experiences that I had, like was going through in that moment, like having a temper and being a really, really, really big sore loser. Okay, for me, like, I did not lose games. Like I watched The Office, and there's a character in there, Andy Bernard. He says, I don't lose games, I win them, or I quit them because they're unfair. That was my life. I was like I hated losing more than I enjoyed winning. For me, it wasn't even winning. It was just about not losing. And one of the things that I've learned is that something seems so big and so great in that moment growing up really doesn't mean anything, because I have this sweet little daughter right underneath Brianna, our little rosebud. And every day, we only do it once a day. It's the first person to say it, they win. But first time we see each other, talk to each other, it's, love you most, I win. And if I say it before her, guess what? I win. But if she says it before me, she wins. But if we say it at the same time, and then we say it again and again, and then we say tie. We say, I love you most, I win, love you most, I win, love you most, I win, tie. And then she's like, yes. I'm like, I'll take it. I didn't lose. And I went on a streak there for a while where I feel like I was just demolishing her. And every day she's like, oh, man. And I was like, wasn't doing it intentionally, wasn't trying. But one day she woke up and she came out, and I thought, I got my mind, I was like, I'm going to get her now. And I paused, and I just waited. I was like, oh, hey, we're talking. And in my mind, I'm like, we're going to let her win today, And so she got me that morning, and I was like, oh, no. And she's like, yes, I finally got him. And it was in that moment I realized that losing really wasn't that big of a deal, whenever it's, something like that, right? And so it's the things in life that seem like they really mattered, right, don't really matter that much. Or another thing the Lord taught me recently is that, situations that we have in our lives, and it seems like it's the absolute worst. It's just a small moment, right? And it can either lead to a great story, a funny, we can laugh about it later, or we can go back and be like, man, I really wish I'd have handled that differently. All right, and so there was a situation that recently occurred on, I saw it on social media, that there was somebody who I was in, ministry with, who, and his daughter had passed away. Okay, and it was like, it just completely, I was just like, oh my gosh, that's awful. I was talking to Erica about it, and I said, it really makes you think that, like, good or bad, like, I just want all the moments with the kids. Like, I just want them. It doesn't matter how, and it's really great, and she's like, yeah, no, totally understand, I get it. Guys, when I say 3 minutes later, it's not a joke, 3 minutes later, I hear a little voice calling from the other room, Dad, I need help. Dad, help me. I was like, oh, man, like, hey, it's like you feel like Batman, right? The light goes up, and, it's like they're calling your name. You're like, man, I'm here to help with whatever you need. And so I go around, and I'm like, what does he need? And I open the door to our bathroom, because that's where the noise is coming from. And I opened the door to our bathroom, and at first I had to take a, ooh. And then there was followed with a, okay, so what I walked into and I saw were three piles of poop there on the floor. And all three of them had been stepped in. But the middle one had been stepped in twice. And so at first I opened that door, and the smell about overtook me. I was like, whoo, Lord. And then I looked up, and there was a little bit of confusion. And then I looked up a little further, and there was a lot of bit of confusion, because he was sitting on the toilet going, I need you to wipe me. And I was like, buddy, I think you kind of missed the mark, right? Like, what happened? And I asked him, I said, Bud, did you poop on the floor? He said, no, Dad, I pooped on my shoe. What? So what happened was, he was outside, right? And something, okay, so here we go. Before I tell this story, I'm going to tell you, I don't want to say what goes around comes around. I'll say you reap what you sow. I'll say that. Okay, we'll get biblical on that one. So what happened was, he was outside, and he was playing. He didn't want to stop playing when he was getting those tummy, pains that was letting him know it was time to go. He didn't want to stop. And then he said, ooh, I better stop because I'm about to make a mess everywhere out here. So he runs inside, and as he's getting himself prepared to go, it's just going, right? Well, then he turns and sits down, and he's got nothing left. And so he gets up, and he steps, pauses, and was like, ooh, that wasn't good. So he turned, step, boop, Dad! Now, guys, remember, I just told my wife I want all the moments. I don't want there to be a single, good, bad, or indifferent, like I want them all. And I'm sitting there like, Lord, you have a sense of humor. Right? And so I'm in there, and of course, Erica comes down, and I think she's going to help me. I'm like, hey, she's about to do something so kind and come in here and help me. She goes, oh, my gosh. She shuts the door. I was like, what is happening right now, right? And so I'm over there, and guys, I don't gag easily. I'm not one of those. It's like, oh, blood, whatever. That day I was, all right? And so I'm sitting there, and I'm cleaning it up, And so, the lessons there are, the Lord's got a sense of humor, but what goes around comes around. You reap what you sow kind of deal, right? But the reason, and I immediately texted my mom, and I said, hey, he one-upped me. And she said, what do you mean? And so I told her about what happened. And she called me, and she starts dying laughing. Because when I was a kid, I'd be outside playing. And I'd be playing I didn't want to stop. I had that FOMO, fear of missing out. I didn't want to, I don't want to go inside and everybody, something happens and now they all got a joke and an inside joke and I missed it because I had to go to the bathroom, And so I would hold it as long as I could and we were playing tag and I'd be like, oh, time out. And I would sit on the ground and go on the ground and then just get back up and keep playing because I did not want to miss. And my mom's like, son, you cannot do that. Get your tail inside, right? And so I said, he one-upped me. He didn't do it in his pants. I wish he would have. He did it on the ground 3 times, stepped in it, one of them twice, not once, twice, and then called for me. It wasn't even, hey, mom or dad. It was dad. So it was like, man, next time you call me, I might not be as excited to come and help, right? And then I also learned the last thing, and if you notice a pattern here, I got a little thing I've learned from each of my little darlings. But, I learned that things don't always turn out the way you think they will. Okay, and stuff happens so quick. I posted something on my story yesterday because it's Facebook was so kind and was like, hey, look at what you were doing a year ago today. Do you want to share a picture where you and this little girl are? And so I have a side by side, and that little baby girl, she'll be a year and a half here soon. Doesn't even look like the same kid. And I'm sitting there looking at her. I'm like, the devil is a liar. That was not a year ago. There's no way that was a year ago. There's no way she got this big in the last year. And it just, and so the thing that I learned in this is that things don't go the way you think they will. Is I remember when Erica and I moved into our house, I remember thinking, we got a big living room. You know what you need in a big living room? A big TV. Right? And I remember being like, man, these football games are going to be great on this big TV. These hockey games are going to be incredible on this big TV. These basketball games on a Monday night national championship game where Michigan wins the national championship. Go blue, right? It's going to look good on a big screen TV, right? Guys, when I tell you, Monday night, when that national championship game started, that little baby that did a year flashback, she was sitting on my lap. I had my phone out, watching it on my phone, because little mama wanted to watch Bluey. So I wanted to say go blue, and she was like, Bluey, yeah, we're connecting, Dad. And so Erica actually came in, and she does it frequently, but she'll come in and she'll be like, why are you watching it on your phone? I'm like, oh, they wanted to watch this on TV. Make them watch it on. So what are you like? No, they're happier this way, But in your mind, whenever you get those things, and it didn't quite turn out the way you thought it was going to, it turns out a little bit differently. So those are some of the things that I just think that as I'm reflecting on, I'm trying to do this thing, spending more time in my thought in thoughts and just it's like what is God teaching me in moments, and not get too far down the road and then try to. It's like, no, like, what is God teaching me now? I don't want to look back and look at a lesson whenever it's like, I want to learn the lesson in the middle of it, and what is it that God's trying to teach me and trying to show me? And I'll say one more before I go. I'll say this. Adding on to God's sense of humor, earlier today I was driving home from work and somebody decided they were going to be really kind and cut me off. And it irks me normally. I don't have road rage. I get like road sarcasm, but not rage. And but when I'm driving my company vehicle, it's a little different because then it's like, hey, like if I hit you, it's not just like my car that's messed up. Like I can get in trouble, could possibly lose my job. Like there's a different kind of feeling, right? And so in that moment, I start smacking my steering wheel, and I'm like, whoo-hoo, because I'm trying to like have less sarcasm all around. It's going great. So I'm smacking my steering wheel there, and I'm just, God, you're so good. Yeah, and even then was kind of like a form of sarcasm. So when Jonathan started singing that tonight, it was just like, man, you are funny. It's great. But so honored to be here tonight, and I enjoy any opportunity I get to share with you guys and hang out with the big kids, the grown-ups, kids at heart. But how many of you believe that it's more blessed to give than to receive? How many believe that, right? All right, and it's you're looking at this and it's like I believe it's more blessed to give than to receive, and I hope you believe that. You know why? Because Jesus said it. That's why. It's like it's more blessed to give than to receive. Pastor Thurman, I'm going to ask you this question because I asked my dad this the other night, and I wasn't 100%, and I don't need an answer right now. Just be thinking on it. How come every other time, because we're talking about this, blessed to give than to receive, and we talk about that word blessed, B-L-E-S-S-E-D, blessed. Every other time it's blessed. Beatitude is what? Blessed, right? Why is it blessed at that part? Why isn't it just blessed? Just be thinking about that. It's something that keeps me up at night. All right, so it's my ADD brain working. But I know this, all right? It's more blessed to give than to receive. And if we're honest with ourselves, though, we can also say it's also pretty cool when we're blessed ourselves, right? If you agree with that statement, like it's more blessed to give to receive, but it's also pretty cool to be blessed. Yeah? Okay, cool. So, let's not act like we're overly spiritual. Of course it's cool. It's really fun when someone gives you a gift card somewhere like Starbucks or gives you a gift card and does something for like get some of the Lord's chicken at Chick-fil-A or, some of that stuff. It's really cool, all right? And so it's a good thing. And we all like to receive, right? So like Christmas, I love, especially whenever Eric and I looking at through the different gifts, and it's like we're so excited to give the kids these gifts, right? Because it's just we want to show our kids how much we love them by what we got them, and there's that excitement of oh, I can't wait. Last year it was Braden got this little red Mustang car that he likes to drive around, and I remember it was just like he went through all his presents, and it's like, all right, buddy, you got one more. He's like, oh, what you got me? We went outside, and it was just, like it's just that excitement. There's nothing that beats it, right? But it's also really cool after giving those gifts to come in and be like, all right, now I got some gifts to unwrap myself. So we also like to receive things. But here's the thing is I'm a big person of the why, right? Like, you tell me to do something, that's cool, but give me the why, and I'll be more likely, hey, cool, like I'm with you. So why is it more blessed to give? And the answer is because we reflect the heart of God when we give. Scripture says, for God so loved the world, John 3:16, it says that he gave, right? And in fact, you may never be more like God than when you give. All right, God loved the world that he gave. And so I want to do this thing. It's like this deductive reasoning. Okay, and so I'm going to ask a question, and then I'm going to give you a hint, and then I want you guys to give me the answer, okay? So the question is, what is God? The answer is, it starts with L and rhymes with dove. Love. All right, good. God is love. Now, what does God do? This one starts with a G, and it rhymes with lives. Gives. Very good. God gives. So if God is love and God gives, then we would say that, love gives. All right? So there's your question, and then for the equation there is that love gives, right? And so we're looking at this, and just yesterday, and listen, when I was growing up, we had these. I don't know if you can see it from here. These peanut butter eggs, right? Hey, I remember those. The church that I grew up in, every year, the biggest fundraiser, it was right up there with the apple butter that Nortonsville does. Every year our church did the peanut butter. It was a big old,